Well, here we are. We are just 1 point behind Peugeot in the manufacturer standings, and we are pretty much well clear of Subaru at this point, who are well clear of Mitsubishi. However, we have now got all 7 teams on the board, as Armin Schwartz got the 2 points for Hyundai last time out in Africa. And now we are heading back up to Scandinavian Europe, where we are now heading to Finland! Over to you, cutscene.
In Finnish, its name translates to Great Race, but in the language of WRC, the Rally of Finland means simply speed. This is the fastest gravel rally of them all. But the cars often take to the air thanks to the flowing bumps or yumps that are driven over at full speed. Finland's a country that breeds top-class rally drivers, so it's no wonder that few outsiders ever win here.
I'm also pretty sure one of those very few outsiders was Colin McRae. I think he did actually win here in Finland one year, if I remember correctly. And to start with, we've got misty conditions, and we're also in the rain. So basically, I think we need to go full send on the gears for this one. Soft brakes. I think I'll go more towards here with the suspension. I think if it's Finland, we're probably going to need to go toe out. And I think we'll raise the ride height just a little bit. And I think everything else we should be okay. So I will now save my setup. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. So saving the setup now for Finland. And maybe this will work. I hope. As I take a sip from my bottle, and we begin with the super special time trial, as we did in Argentina. And we've got one of the Skodas alongside us. Hopefully my setup is exactly what it needs to be.
Caution over jump. 100 very long, right forward.
Unfortunately, there are no rear view mirrors in this game, so I cannot tell if whether or not my opponent is behind me. I think they also have that in future rally games, but not with this one. I wasn't quite able to thread the needle in Kenya, but I came damn close to doing so. But I think at this point, because I now have a 6-point lead in the championship, I'm honestly just fine coping with that for now. Because I have been consistent, and that is precisely what has propelled me to the top of the standings now by precisely 6 points. I don't know if that's going to continue here in Finland, but if I can finish in the top 6, then I would consider that to be a good job, personally. And not quite going to be the win, but I finish point nice behind the leader. I figured I had to save at least one replay with a friggin' super special stage in it. But anyway, so Rovanperä wins ahead of Richard Burns, Francois Delacour, myself, Tommy Mäkinen, and Marcus Gronholm. And here is the rest of the order. As already, we have one car out, Alistair McRae in the Evo 7. And this is the way things look for now. So, actually not a bad start to the rally in all honesty. But now, we get on to the real stages. And oh boy, it is wet. I don't think we're going to continue our podium streak here, boys. I think we might finish 4th in this one, depending on how well Marcus does.
3, 2, 1, go. 70.
I mean,
Crest into right.
I do have a...
100 over crest.
I mean, yes, I do have a 6-point advantage at the top, but that can just as easily go away if I don't finish on the podium. Or it could even be tied if I don't finish right behind whoever my main rival is. I think Marcus Gronholm is probably going to be the main rival for this. And I also had to step on the brakes there because if you go too fast, you can actually flip the car. So I think you should be mindful of that, because Finland will definitely catch you out if you're not careful around here. So you have got to be aware of that. Just as a piece of advice. But since I have managed to be consistent for most of the rally so far, and basically for most of this championship, I have basically scored points in all but 2 rounds, so maybe we can manage to keep a hold of our consistency where the AI does not have their consistency, maybe. But either way, both myself and Marco, we're definitely running really well in terms of our point positions. Even though it's technically me who is doing most of the point scoring, but either way, I still have some pretty good pace. I figured Finland was no doubt going to have plenty of long straightaways, which is why I basically extended the gears for just this sort of thing, because I figured this was the sort of situation I had to be ready for. No doubt. I might also stick with the first day of the rally, because I do kind of have a rule to myself basically saying that I'm not going to do more than just one rally. That's kind of a personal rule for me, because it means I will not be working myself too hard whilst I do this. And it also means that, in essence, I can pretty much continue to have fun whilst I do it. And well, basically as long as you finish on the podium for most of these rallies, you can get pretty much most of the cheat codes. Of course, if you want to win the championship, then you are going to have to win at least 1 or 2 rallies, but I think at this time, I actually seem to be running really well, which is not what I would have said initially, considering the circumstances of what has already transpired at this point. However, we do have a good shot of
potentially taking the lead in the Constructors' Championship. Oh crap, okay. It's alright, we're fine. We're still holding on, somehow. Okay. And one corner left. A little bit deep there into the corner, but I get the stage win. By half a second, virtually. That actually went better than what I was expecting. I guess that must mean I have actually got a good setup for this again. But anyway. So I beat Marco Martin to the line by half a second, then Richard Burns third, Harry Rothenpera fourth, Marcus Gronholm fifth, and Tommi Mäkinen was sixth. And here are the rest of the results. And our second retirement is once again Sebastian Loeb in the Citroen. Sucks to suck, I guess. But anyway, I now take over the lead of the rally for the first time. And Gronholm at the moment is nowhere in sight. So, if I keep this up, I might just continue to build up my lead, as we've got another long stage ahead of us. As we've now got Talviainen reverse. I think that's how you say that. And the rain continues, but at least we have more visibility than we did before.
3, 2,
which is one thing.
go. 70 long left, 3.
I don't know if I've actually nailed the setup, or if the game is actually giving me a break at this moment in time.
100 left, 1. 100 long left, 3 over crest, 50 tightens into left.
I mean, I was struggling like hell
50 left,
to win a
3
rally,
into long
to
right,
open this
3
up.
over crest,
And now it actually feels like,
150
since we're in the second half of the
hair
championship,
rocks inside. 100
I suddenly
left, 3
have
over
this...
crest, tightens.
I suddenly have this unexpected burst of pace that I didn't think I was going to have heading into this, but somehow it's almost like I might actually have the nail hit on the head, almost, because of the way things are currently playing out. Yeah, gotta step on the brakes for those bumps, because otherwise you'll flip the car over. And I do strongly advise you be ready for those. And that was not what I should have done. But I honestly feel like these Finnish roads, they're actually giving me some momentum. Something that I definitely would not have said at the start of the championship, considering the way that I was. And it looks as though Gronholm is right behind me, so he could be gaining some spots here. Of course, all 4 Peugeot drivers up to this point of the championship now all have a win. However, Ford has definitely mowed down the gap over basically the last, I think it's been 3 rounds now. I didn't score in Argentina, but I was able to fight back far enough to at least get a top 10, which for me was actually very decent, all things considered. Especially since I almost pulled off the upset in Kenya. And I think if I would have done that, then it definitely would have been, I think, one of probably the biggest upsets I think I have ever pulled off in pretty much any video game. Well, any racing game. And, yep, that's a tree. Well, thankfully at least this is the 3rd stage, so I don't have to worry about it too much, is what me thinks.
100 hairpin left, opens over crest.
I'm trying to remember what rally we have next after this one. Trying to remember what other places we're going to.
Right 2, 150, right 3 into left 4.
Oh yeah, Germany's next. Yeah, I have a strong feeling Germany
probably is going to be one of those rallies that I could potentially win from what I can see. And in spite of me being P2, I still set a green sector split. Might have been from when I hit that tree. But I can definitely say the Finnish roads have been kinder to me than what I thought they would be. I mean, compared to most of the championship, these roads have been a lot kinder to me than they would be to most people. And, oh my god, I just went over 130. That is literally light speed in a rally car. That practically is light speed, or it almost feels like it. And not going to win the stage, but I think I still maintain my rally lead. So not quite the stage win, but I still managed to at least come away with P3. And the Skodas are not doing too badly at the moment. And the DNFs for this rally still stand at 2. However, Francois Delacour now moves into the points in the Mitsubishi, as it is me leading by 4.4 seconds over Tommy Mäkinen. Marcus Gronholm is 3rd, with Richard Burns 4th, Francois Delacour 5th, and Harry Rovanperä in P6. And here is the rest of the running order, as it is the 2 Citroens once again at the bottom, with Armin Schwartz in P17 in the Hyundai. And also my teammate Francois, who is not doing too well at the moment. But anyway, that was day 1 of the rally. And now we will move on to day 2. Alright, here we go. Day 2 of Neste Rally Finland is now upon us. And where to open this up, we have got some rain, and then after that we are basically driving in the clouds, more or less. So, pretty much typical repairs. Got to repair the brakes, and also repair the body. And I think for this, I'm basically just going to keep everything as it is, and just hope for the best with these next few stages. Extremely helpful.
3, 2, 1, go. 100, caution, jump, maybe. 100, right 5, care, rocks, inside.
I definitely feel like if I did have an option to restart stages, it would have been an extremely helpful feature to have at this stage. Because then I wouldn't have to keep doing the same old stages over and over again, and I would actually have a chance to rectify my mistakes, instead of just having to constantly repeat them, like I have been doing.
150, right 3, over crest. 70, caution, over jump, and
I probably should have looked at my previous video file to find out where I was in the rally prior to recording this, but I think at this point, it's only the viewers that can really tell me just where exactly I am positioned for each of these rallies. It's not really something I can do a lot about, unless I can somehow manage to get something like this to work. Shit, okay. Yeah, it's really important to make sure you have brakes for these stages, if you need them. Because brakes are going to be super important for stages like this. And you really have got to be ready with them. Because you honestly never know when you might need them. Almost hitting that log, but thankfully avoiding it, and this time I finish a second back. Anyway, these are your results, blah blah blah. And here is how the rally currently looks. Blah blah blah. I'm not really saying a lot because I have a feeling this rally is no doubt going to give me some sort of gut punch like it did before. So basically, results won't matter until we get past stage 6. I honestly do feel like a stage restart option would definitely make some of these stages easier than what they actually are. Because then I would actually have a shot to rectify my mistakes without losing any previous progress I've made. That's honestly the one thing that does annoy me about these old rally games, where you're just having to basically do a series of stages before you can actually save the game. And then when you do save the game, it's basically a series of stages that you have to do without getting to restart the individual stage that you basically screwed yourself on before. And you basically have to repeatedly screw yourself sometimes just to get there. That could have been a lot worse than it actually was had I not slammed the anchors on. Yeah, this is definitely a rally where you need brakes. Brakes are vitally important to get across these jumps without crashing. There have been many drivers in the past that have basically gone over those bumps and literally wrecked their cars. I think there have even been a few casualties in Rally Finland over the years because of those jumps, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, I couldn't tell you the cause of what led to those fatalities, but there have definitely been so many victims to the jumps here in Finland that you really have to make sure that your brakes are basically wired on to get across some of them. They've definitely been the scenes of so many accidents for this rally over the years. And some cars have even wound up basically flying off those jumps and into the trees. And as I have proven again, brakes are absolutely mandatory for some of these bumps. For pretty much all the bumps and yumps you get here in Finland, you need not only a fast car, but you also need a good handling car with strong brakes. Almost like, well, I guess you could say Brembo Bay. Almost like, I guess you could say, either Brembo or a Bastos brakes in a way.
150, right 1,
You basically need the best brakes you can get
100, long left,
to make it
3
through these
over
stages without wrecking yourself.
crest, 150,
Something
left,
else that,
2,
because the rally is so
right, 2,
fast,
and left, 1,
it's very
100,
easily done.
into right 4, caution, jump maybe, 150, left 1,
Because typically, when you're doing over 100 miles an hour
crest,
in these rallies,
150,
you know
right,
those
1,
speeds in a rally car are
crest,
terrifying.
jump into right 2, over crest, rocks inside, 200,
Because as the
here,
intro
over
put
crest,
it, you basically are driving a two-man guided
150,
missile
right 5, over crest,
of steel and
into
alloy
left 5, over crest,
through some of the
finish.
most beautiful sceneries in the world. And also competing against some of the best rally drivers in the world whilst you're at it. And I finish half a second behind Gronholm. Okay. Yeah, that was alright. And the Skodas and Hyundais have a presence in the top 12 of that stage. So that makes things interesting. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see how we do in the night stage. Maki Para 2. And yep, it's a night stage.
1, go.
Really can't say I'm
70 over
surprised
crest,
about it
into
though.
right 5, 100 over crest, into left 2, tightens.
I mean, when you look at the cloud covers, it basically means it's obviously a night stage.
100 over crest,
When you can
into
see
left
those
2, 100
full beam
over crest.
headlights. At least there's a bit more visibility in this game compared to the previous game, in terms of the roads you're driving,
150
as in you can
left,
actually see
forward
where the
into
road
into
goes.
left 2 over crest. 100 right 2 into left 2.
And you can
100
actually
right
see
2,
enough of the road to decide if
100
whether or
long
not
right
you
2,
actually
tightens
have
over crest.
a car made for
200
the
left,
stage.
1. 100
And
over
personally,
crest,
I don't
into
really
right
know.
4, 100 right 3 into
It would
left
have to come
5
down to a
into
number of
left
factors to
1,
be sure,
150
but
over crest, into
I am
right
certainly going to
3,
try
rocks inside.
and see what happens
100 left 1 over crest, into
if I
right
can get
2,
past this stage in
and
one
left 2
piece,
over crest, 50 right 4 into left 3
which
over
is
crest,
what I am
70
trying to
caution,
do.
jump maybe into long right 5 200 over crest, into left 2 tightens, into left 3 care over jump.
But I guess that depends on how we do from here.
150 care over crest. 100 caution over jump.
And yep, I knew that was
100
I knew that was
caution
coming.
over jump.
Shit.
100 over crest. 100 left 2 over crest. 100 right 3.
Okay, keep it together somehow.
200 left 2. 70 left 4. 100 caution dip into right 2. 100 care.
In spite of all the errors that could have sent me
150
sideways.
care jump maybe. 100 care over jump into left 2. 100 right 4 over crest.
Okay. Right. Okay.
150 over
Okay.
crest into dip caution.
Somehow keeping it
150
together
right
in spite
3.
of all my errors
300
of
over crest into left
somehow
2.
trying not to make sure I keep this car in one piece.
150 right 4 over crest. 150 over jump into left
But
1. 100 over crest and
at least I'm not losing too
100
much time to
over
Gronholm
crest
at the
into
moment.
right 2. 150 left 4 tightens.
Which
200
is
over
kind of
crest.
what I am supposed to do here. Really, I'm just trying to keep Marcus honest at this point,
100 caution over jump.
the way I see
200
things.
right 1 over crest.
That could have been much worse had I not been on the
100
brakes.
caution over jump. 100 over crest into right 4.
Again, as I said before, when you're doing over 100 miles an hour in a rally car, that is terrifying. Because you've got no crash barriers, no tyre barriers, basically nothing except for the metal box. Except for the metal box of steel and alloy that you're essentially driving. That is also not a bomb on wheels.
100 right 2.
Because these things are also fitted with survival cells.
150 care. 70 caution over crest. 100 over crest.
But anyway,
100 right 3 over crest.
trying to make sure I do not lose too much time to Marcus, and hopefully I can manage to get through this pretty well. And I do. I come away with a 3-second victory in the stage. Huh. I actually won a night stage. By 2.9 seconds. And here's the rest of the leaderboard. And had some pretty good runs there from both the Skodas and the Hyundais. And Tommi Mäkinen is out the rally. And oh no! Oh wait, hold on. Wasn't Tommy out the rally before? Oh yeah. Oh okay, I get it now. Yeah, Marco is the latest retirement. Well, that's a shame. Well, that's going to cause a shuffle in the top 6, as I now lead by 6.69 seconds at the end of day 2. Nice. And as a result, Kenneth Eriksson moves up to 8th, and Freddie Loy in the Hyundai moves up to 12th. So we've got 17 runners left now at the end of day 2. And amazingly, I was actually successful in winning a night stage. Yeah, I'll save over this. Might as well. And now, we begin day 3 of the rally. And doing this whole thing again. I think I'm going to keep this thing on toe in because that seems to be what is helping me out with these stages at the moment. So I think in terms of my cornering here, it's actually working at the moment, so I'm just going to leave it at that and see how we go. As we begin with Lankamar Reverse. Yeah, did I mention Finland is one of the more unpredictable rallies on the calendar? As in, it quite literally is one of the more unpredictable rallies. And I think it's pretty much a given fact that you not only need a good handling car, but you also need a good handling car that's fast. And I think partly the reason as to why I lost so much time in that other stage I did was because I didn't have enough downforce in the car. And I think at this point, because I'm going to be driving flat out, and also going at full speed over a series of bumps, kind of similar to what I'm doing now at least, I have no doubt in saying it's going to be quite it's going to be quite ordealistic for me to just work my way through them. Also, if you're asking why these coughs keep intervening, well, that's because I have been having a lot of throatal issues recently, and I couldn't explain what the root cause of it is. You know, maybe once I get my flu jab I might actually have the coughs removed and my throat will be vindicated. From these very eruptive coughs that just seem to keep happening at this moment in time. Like, they literally just keep happening for whatever reason.
Over jump into left 1 over crest and left 5 care rocks inside.
And here are the results of stage 7. So it looks as though the top 4, with pretty much in a league of our own, I now have a 12-second lead over Gronholm, so I think at this point, providing we don't get any more retirements from here, and we likely won't, I would say the running order for the rest of the rally is pretty much set. As we begin with a long-ass straightaway. And my car, not quite as damaged as it was the first time I went into this. And I think that might have been because I actually put more downforce into the car to help compensate for the jumps. In other words, my car is not as damaged as it was before. And I think that means that my body should be just fine. Hopefully... okay. Can I keep it together somehow? I don't know how, but maybe. I do have a 12-second lead heading into the stage at least, so as long as I don't blow 12 seconds, then I think I should be okay. This was probably not going to be one of my stronger stages, but I think at this point we're just going to have to wait and see. Maybe we'll get lucky or maybe we won't. Depends on what happens next. That's all I can really say for sure. I should not have stepped on the brakes as early as I did. Well, at least I can actually drift the car this time, unlike before. I did also save the setup changes I made because, well, providing I don't choke away a 12-second lead in this stage, then I think we should be okay. But again, because of how long the stage is, that could just as easily be possible. I did come into this with a 6-point advantage, so if I finish second in this, then it's only going to be 4 points lost. It's not going to be 6, because I am well clear of both, well, 3rd and 4th at this point. So I think second is probably the best I can really get if I lose. And it's looking like that might be the case, because I'm currently doing awful in this stage compared to my previous sets of stages where I actually did pretty well. This one is awful by comparison so far. Unless I can somehow stop the choking. Although at this time that remains to be seen. Guess we'll just have to wait and see to be sure. Well, I'm up to P7 at least, so maybe my time lost won't be in vain. But again, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Here's what me thinks. And maybe I can gain that time back again if we're not going to be on straightaways all the time. I have no idea how I immediately got back on the road after that. I really thought for sure that was going to be a lot worse than it was. But amazingly, I actually saved myself as quickly as I jumped myself. Somehow. Okay, keeping it together so far. It's pretty much now or never, depending on if I can keep my car on the road. We have got a super special to finish, so providing I am successful in holding on, this will pretty much be my second win of the Expert Championship, providing I can hold on, of course. I had a very hard-fought win in Greece, and this, I think, is sort of the same, except for saying that I haven't choked away as... Except for saying that this time around it's been a bit more challenging. Huh, P3 in the end. Not bad. And it was Richard Burns who won that stage. And thankfully, I only lost 5 seconds to Gronholm, so providing I have a good enough super special, I should have this rally in the bag from what I can see. And Kenneth Eriksson finished P5 in the Skoda. I think that might actually give some points to Skoda if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know for sure. As Francois Delacour now drops down to P6. Well, still gets that 1 point for Mitsubishi if he can stay there. And there's the classification order. Now we just got to get through the Super Special. And then as soon as we're done here, we can move on to Germany. They also used to call Finland the 1000 Lakes Rally because I think there was about 996 lakes in the vicinity of Finland or something. I couldn't tell for sure. But anyway, I'm on the right hand side and I have got a Hyundai next to me on the other side of the track. Anyway, here we go. Let's see if we can get through this in less than a minute. I do have a pretty good car set up for this, so hopefully we've got everything we need, maybe. Or at least that's what I would hope for. Providing I can keep my car on the road long enough. That's probably the real question. Also, this is only the second Super Special we've done so far. The first one I believe was in Argentina, if I remember correctly. At least I think that's where it was. And almost hitting the guardrail, but narrowly scraping through. And this is a very quick course, if I do say so myself. However, not going to make a difference in the rally overall, because I will still win. Nice. Okay, P7. So Gronholm wins the Super Special. However, it's not going to be enough to stop me from winning the rally overall. And just as I thought, no further retirements. So I win in the end, as I held on to my advantage, winning by 3.87 seconds over Gronholm. Richard Burns third, Harry Rothenpera fourth, so Peugeot sweeps second to fourth. Then Subaru 5th with Petter Solberg, and Francois Delacour is 6th in the Lancer Evo 7. And here's the rest of the order, as Kenneth Eriksson gets a top 10 in the Skoda, and there's everyone else. And so, that is now the end of Rally Finland, and we get to celebrate another win. So I think Peugeot is going to pull ahead of us again in the Constructors, but we've still got plenty more rallies to catch him up, as Mitsu also gets a point on the board. And hey, I was right, Skoda does get a point on the board. Oh, we're tied for the most points. Okay. Really don't know how that works, but anyway, there we are. 10 points to Peugeot, 10 points to Ford, 3 points to Subaru, 2 to Mitsubishi, and 1 to Skoda. 5 teams in the manufacturer points. That is crazy. But anyway, there we go. We've got our second victory of the Expert Championship, and we've now unlocked Mobler. Another cheat code we have acquired. So these are the updated points. I now have a 10-point lead over Marcus Gronholm, with Richard Burns now officially moving up to 3rd, with Jubanitsi 4th, Harry Rovanpera 5th, and Tommy Mäkinen now drops down to P6. And no further drivers on the board as of yet. However, I reckon we might get another driver on the board before too long. I hope, anyway. And in the Constructors, Peugeot still has a 1-point lead over Ford, as both of us are well clear of Subaru, who ironically is well clear of Mitsubishi, and then behind we've got the bottom 3, who are still in single-digit figures for now. So, Finland is done, and next up will be Rally Germany.